This media session will begin momentarily.
Welcome all. You got your assistant coach with you today? That's good. All right, guys, have at it.
When Baylor goes to West Virginia and wins the way they do, does that catch your attention?
Yeah, but they have always caught our attention, and certainly, we end up winning the game by 1 point. In a back and forth game, so we know that they're capable, and they usually play very well in our building. We've been fortunate we've won, but they usually play us very well here. So and they're good. I mean, what are they ranked right now this week? They are 16th in the country. So, and they're projected to be like a 4 seed. So they're certainly capable of beating anybody.
Their zone's a little different. What are the keys against their zone, going against theirs?
Well, I think you got to get in gaps, and you got to be able to get the ball flat, and they do a great job keeping you from getting the ball flat. And then, of course, you want to be able to attack the middle of it, which I think that's probably the key aspect of attacking any zone. But the big thing is that if they pressure out high on the wings, which really discourages you getting the ball flat or throwing the ball inside, and if that's something that keeps you from doing it, then they win. If it's not, then you have hopefully have a chance to attack their zone better. But you still got to make some shots.
Coach, does it feel like Wayne has turned the corner the last handful of games? And can you remember having a guy that's such a tough shot maker?
A tough shot maker.
Tough shots from long distances fading away.
Well, I mean, I think Brandon Green jumps up and makes probably more guarded shots than anybody we've had. But Wayne, has played very, very well. But the whole thing is, it's such a misleading deal. If you study our team, Wayne hasn't shot the ball terrible behind the arc all year long. I mean, he's been above 35%. Which 40% would be considered shooting excellent, so he hasn't shot it great, but where Wayne has labored is shooting the ball inside the arc. That's where his percentage down is inside the arc, and hopefully he's going to become a guy that shoots it consistently inside the arc like he has from beyond the perimeter, because he's been on a roll beyond the perimeter, similar to what everybody talks about Brandon being on a roll, but really Wayne shot the ball in the last 5 or 6 games every bit as good as Brandon. But yeah, I still don't say I don't know if you really call making threes hard shots because guys are draped all over you, because you usually don't shoot perimeter shots if guys are draped all over you. What I would consider really making hard shots are guys are shots that were probably closer to the basket and shots off the bounce rather than off the catch and things like that, and that's something that we can all do a better job of, especially our big guys.
Is it just reps or him working? Something you can do coaching wise to help win?
Well, I hate to take credit, but I think it's been coaching without question. No, it's just him getting confidence. It's getting in the gym and getting a lot of reps. I don't know about many sports, but everybody goes through phases where you don't play as well, your confidence is a little rattled or whatnot, and you just got to try to find your way to grind through it. And the best way to grind through it is to see the ball go in the hole, and the best way you do that is through repetition. So he has done a good job working on it, though. And Sean, to your point, he is shooting it a lot better, but I don't think he ever shot it as bad as what a lot of people assumed outside the arc. It was mainly inside the arc. His 2-point shooting wasn't very good.
Well, he's a pretty physical guy, or at least has the body. Did you think maybe he profile as kind of a better finisher around the basket?
Yeah, that's my point. I think that with that body and being able to get inside of people, I would think that he'd probably be a better finisher in closer to the basket. But this is the one thing that happens with players. Sometimes when you don't do something really well, you tend not to do that as much. And so right now, to me, Wayne is at a point in his career and with his game where he can become more complete than he ever has been, because now he can use the shot to set up, getting inside people. Whereas before, he was probably just looking to shoot the ball, if that makes sense at all. So I'm excited for him.
Coach, you mentioned a couple of weeks ago, you referenced Sybil and your team.
Personalities?
Yeah. You still feel the same way? You see any stabilization there?
Well, I still feel the same way. The last two games we've been pretty good one half, awful half. Average at best a half, and then great the next half. So I still think that that we're a little bit split personality, so to speak. But I also think a lot of that's youth, and a lot of it is some things that we won't control. But I do think there's a percentage of it that we can control to become more consistent. And we said the same thing. We've preached the same thing all year long, is what we feel like this team needs to do to become more consistent. And certainly, hopefully, we're gaining on it. But it's still it can change from timeout to timeout almost. It's been a little bit frustrating, but on the flip side, when we're playing well, it's been very rewarding too. I mean, because we're a team that can do both. I told our team, obviously we can beat anybody in our league, best league in the country, but obviously we can look really bad against maybe some of the teams that aren't the best. So our room for error is so high. It's so high and so low. We can play at the highest level and we can play at the lowest level, and what causes that, and I think it's pretty consistent what causes that.
Bill, a lot of people say that the long two shot is kind of headed toward extinction. Either you want to score at the rim and a high percentage shot, or through. But you have a lot of guys who can make that shot.
Yeah, I think we actually have a decent in-between team. I thought Wiggs was a good in-between player for the most part. But that's one thing. Wayne's a pretty good in-between shooter, or hasn't been consistently a shooter, but he's pretty good at getting his own shot off 2 feet. I'd tell you, if you really study it, like when you play one-on-one in the summertime, you should never be allowed to shoot the shot off 1 foot. You should always play one-on-one and have to shoot off 2 feet, because that's more realistic, because that is not getting all the way to the hole, so to speak. Because right now it's 3 or get all the way to the hole, as you say, and people don't practice that in-between game, and that's something that we try to do. I think Frank's a pretty good in-between guy. I think that Wayne can be. I think Kelly has his moments where he can be. I think BG has his moments where he can be, which we're probably a little bit better than what we have been in years past.
Is that shot opening up a little bit more as teams guard the perimeter or slough down in the post?
Well, I think that when people, depending on how you guard, but a lot of people will try to chase you off the line. If they chase you off the line, now it becomes real important that you can penetrate the pitch or penetrate the score. And so, I do think that there's still a need and still a huge reason on why we need to keep working individually on our game to because against real teams, you don't get all the way to the basket that often.
Why was Rico so effective the first game? What did it take?
What was his stats the first game?
I know he had a ton of rebounds.
Yeah, he had like 15 rebounds, didn't he? And
14.
He had 14 rebounds. Well, I'm disappointed, Gary, that you didn't know that off the top of your head, because usually you ask questions that you know the answers to. But you know what? 9 and 14 is average for him. He's averaging 14 rebounds a game or whatnot. So, him getting 14 rebounds a game is, well, at least he didn't get 20. I think he's played himself into the conversation for Player of the Year in our league. I still think there's a lot of work to be done left and everything, but when you start talking about who are our best 5 performers in our league so far, I don't see how you can keep him off any list based on what he's done. But he's a monster in there. He does a great job of going after every ball.
Coach, what's something that you can take from the last meeting with Baylor and try to improve on it for Saturday's matchup?
Well, one would be, doing a better job on him, trying to keep him off the offensive glass. It's hard to keep a guy off the defensive glass. You're not going to do that. So, but trying to keep a guy off the offensive glass, maybe we can do some things to improve that. And then I thought the first half, even though it was like a 2-point game at halftime, something like that, but I didn't think we attacked their zone well at all the first half, at all. And I thought we missed guys that were open, and something that I think we got to do is we got to be able to get the ball to the open man on time, on target, because in any zone or any defense there are openings, but the openings don't last forever, and we got to do a better job of having the confidence to get the ball where it needs to go.
Coach, you had nice things to say about Coach Smith and Coach Tarkanian, and I think a lot of us are probably surprised at the relationship that you maintained with Coach Tarkanian.
Oh yeah, we were close.
When in the coaching fraternity, when you develop those relationships, what do you get out of it? Do you guys talk basketball, X's and O's, or is it more of a general? They know they're going through what you've gone through and that kind of thing.
Well, with Tark, I was a regular on his radio show. He had his radio show there, and I don't know if it was in Fresno or I think it was in Vegas, but I'm not positive. But I was a regular on his show, and so we talked ball then, and then when I was at Illinois after he retired, I had him come out there and hang out with us, watch practice, and that stuff, but he was unique to me, and I listened to Coach Boeheim talk last night, and it made me reinforce what I said, because this guy's won 78% of his games. I mean, he knew what he's doing. And he recruited unbelievable players, but he was so complimentary to all other coaches. Like Jim last night was talking about how he used to say, God, you guys are so good. How do you get them to play that way and all that stuff? And Jim's teams were 24-10, and he was 35-2. But he did the same thing with us all the time. God, I love watching you play. Geez, I don't see how you guys guard like that. And of course, he's coached the best defensive teams ever in college basketball. So I thought he was unique in that he was very complimentary of other coaches, and when we played them, I've probably told you this. My last team at Tulsa lost 5 games. All 5 were at the buzzer, last possession. We lost 5 games on the last possession. 3 of them were to Fresno State, and he came in our locker room after they beat us at their place in their tournament, and they made some shot to win by 1 or 2, whatever it was. And I think it was a 3 from the corner, Terrence Roberson, but who remembers that kind of stuff? But made a 3 to win the conference tournament at the buzzer. And he asked me after the game, can I come talk to your team? And he got in and talked to my team. He said, I just want to tell you guys, God, I love watching you guys play. Now, we beat you 3 times, but this is the only 3 games we played worth of crap all year long. I mean, just going on and on and on. God, you guys are so good and so much fun to watch. And, man, God, you guys can go to the Final Four. I love your team. Hey, just be encouraged. I mean, but he was one of those kind of guys that always was very complimentary of other players.
Is this Scott Drew's best coaching job, you think?
Scott's had a great run in Waco, but I think he and his staff have done a great job. Don't get me wrong, but I think he's had some other really good jobs too. I mean, they've been to 2 Elite Eights and that kind of stuff. But they've done a really nice job without question.
Coach, do you have any update, comment on that story in that Peoria paper yesterday on Jarrett?
Yeah, I tell you what, I've been working on that, and I found out about it yesterday. And which is disappointing, and we're working on it right now, and we'll have a release out. I would say hopefully sometime this afternoon, because we're still trying to gather some stuff, and of course there will be things that we need to do, that kind of stuff, certainly, and I am disappointed. But on one front, I mean, just to be real candid, I'm disappointed on one front. I didn't know about it. I love the guy, and the fact that I didn't know about it, regardless of what circumstances surrounded it, is disappointing to me. But we're working on it, and we'll handle it like we should. He'll handle it like he should, and move forward. But you'll know more this afternoon.
Perry needs 3 points to get 1,000. Will that be a big accomplishment if he gets it?
Well, I hope he, like I said last night on my show, I hope we're playing Baylor. He's going to need to get more than 3. So, but I think that it is a great accomplishment. There's not as many kids doing that in today's time as what there was before, because kids don't stay for 3 or 4 years. But if he were to stay here all 4 years, he could be in that 1,500 range possibly, and which would be a great accomplishment. To be one of the top 20 scorers in school. A great accomplishment at a place like this, but or that would put him in that vicinity. But certainly proud of Perry, and certainly hope it happens early in the first half Saturday.
Coach, you said earlier this season you wouldn't tell us who was going to start, but in light of the way Cliff played the other day, are you pleased with his overall performance
in that game?
Yes.
Yeah, I thought he played fine. He didn't exactly. I don't know if you watched. If you saw the very first minute, he probably didn't start the game off the way you would hope he would. He had a hard time determining that maybe somebody in the fifth row wasn't wearing a Kansas jersey or something, because he made 2 really bad passes. But he was nervous. But I thought he did fine, and I'm pleased with Jamari. But we need something a little bit different. We need some more girth. We need a bigger presence, and Jamari has really done a nice job for the most part all year long in doing what he can do. But physically, he's limited to be that small and to have to play the 5. So I thought Cliff did well. Cliff will be in the starting lineup moving forward, as long as nothing changes, but you never know what's going on or how ebbs and flows go. But I thought he played pretty well the other night.
In a way, does this force your team, even mentally, to just think more inside?
You know what? I don't think so. I don't think so. We need to throw it inside more. But we can throw it inside more and be passers out of it than we can be scorers. I mean, you can play inside out and shoot a ton of threes just as long as the ball touches paint, that kind of stuff. So, I think Cliff is an easier presence to throw it to because he's bigger, and hopefully we'll get some points out of it. But even though a different guy starts, I'm not sure minutes necessarily are affected a ton, because so much of that's dependent on fouls. But I'm hoping from this point forward, if Cliff plays like he's capable of playing, can be a close to a 25-minute-a-game guy for us that can give us some numbers. And if that's the case, then our team will get better.
You've been surprised sometimes that a lot's been made of the three-point shooting, I know, but how good you guys have been in stretches, and I know a lot of that has to do with Green, but and Wayne shot it.
Well, and Wayne, I mean, they both shot the heck out of it. And if you go back and look at it, we've shot the ball well from 3, and Frank until a couple of games ago, and against up until Oklahoma State, Frank and Kelly were both shooting under 25% from 3 in conference play, but we still shot a great percentage, in large part because of Wayne and Brandon. But yeah, I don't think it surprised me that we're a good 3-point shooting team, or have been, but it's surprising that we've reeled off some pretty good numbers in 3-point shooting in certain games. I'm making your first 8 against Oklahoma. What were we, like 6 or 7 the other night, something like that the second half. And then I watch Iowa State play at Oklahoma, and heck, they start the game out 9 of 11 or whatever from 3. So, you shouldn't evaluate your team based on, well, if we make shots, we play good. If we miss shots, we play poorly. But the reality of it is, you got to make shots, and everything looks so much better when you do. But we are shooting it. We are shooting it, knock on wood, more consistently well than probably what I think most coaches would envision. I don't think anybody envisions, we're going to shoot 50% from 3 and make 11 or make 10, whatever the numbers are. But that's certainly been the case the last couple of games.
How important is defensive rebounding just for out of this game against them?
Well, we become an average rebounding team. I mean, there's periods of time during the season we've been very good. There's periods of time we've been poor. We've kind of been, I would say, in league play, an average rebounding team, and certainly where I think that we've struggled the most. We haven't been ridiculously big the way we play, and hopefully we're going to get a little bigger and little bit better on the defensive end, but you can tell if a team is a good rebounding team defensively based on the percentage of offensive rebounds they give up. And I think we're in the middle of the pack, if I'm not mistaken, Jesse, with that stat, since you're the analytics guy around here. So we're in the middle of the pack with that stat, and the really good rebounding teams are giving up less than, are getting at least 70% of the misses. And right now, I think we're about at 65%. So that's may not seem like a substantial number, but it is pretty significant, and it's going to be real important against Baylor, because Baylor, arguably, because of one guy, and then you have two guys go block out the one guy, which give other people free pass to the basket, things like that. They're as good offensive rebounding team as maybe we have in America.
What's it like to coach Perry?
Perry's great. Perry is he can be frustrating at times because I want him to, but he's a great kid, and he's fun. He's his personality has really come out, I think, in the last year or so, and he's a stud. He's a stud, and he's been a great ambassador for our university and for our program, and he'll continue to do so.
So going back to Cliff, what changed to get him into the starting lineup?
To be honest, I didn't think that we had been playing. It wasn't Cliff. It wasn't that Cliff had done so well. It wasn't that anything. It was something that I just think our team needed. It wasn't that Jamari had done so poorly. It was just the fact that we needed a bigger presence is what our team needed. And so that's what we're going to. That's the direction that I thought we should go. But you guys make way too big a deal out of who starts. But that's what we're going to do, and that's what our team, I feel like, needs to be as good as we can be later on, is develop more of an inside presence, rim protector, or defensive rebounder, or whatever that means.
Bill, you mentioned Rico, obviously first team All Big 12 selection, and halfway through the season right now, if you had to pick that team, what guys do you think are deserving maybe to be on the All Big 12 team?
Well, I think I hadn't thought about that, but. But you somebody from Oklahoma State's got to be there, Forte or Nash. Buddy Hield obviously is going to be there. Rico obviously needs to be there, and somebody from Iowa State, George probably needs to be there, and then Staten was the player of the year in the league last year. What else? He's going to be right there. There's numerous guys, and I think we got a couple of guys that are deserving of mention, but and there's more. I didn't mention everybody. There's more, but I think to get it down to 5, I think you probably should wait and see how the season plays out, and who does well in the league moving forward, because obviously so much of all postseason honors based on stats, and sometimes that's a little misleading based on the type of team you're on and that kind of stuff. But I think Frank and Perry would both deserve mention with us. So there's got to be 10 guys that you would think that would, or 12 that would have a chance to be in the conversation right now.
All right, Coach.
All right, thanks, guys.
Thank you, Coach.